In the wrestling world, the people are represented by two separate but unequally important groups. The wrestlers and bookers, who literally do all the hard work, and the fans, who endlessly nitpick and overanalyze everything they do. These are their stories. Welcome to Raw and Order, the wrestling booking unit, the only wrestling podcast on the planet that is totally fine with getting a little extremely nerdy with our analysis of pro wrestling. I am your host, Detective Mark Smarks, and I am joined by my partner in crime fighting, District Attorney Vincent K. What's going on, man? How are you?
All of the wrestling podcasts get a little nerdy about pro wrestling.
But we are fine.
That's what we geek out about. Well, but that doesn't make us... okay. It is also the only wrestling podcast that gives their podcast 5 stars, like every time that, let's see here, Jim Cornette watches the number of aneurysms that Jim Cornette has. God, yeah, I can't even talk right now. Yeah, I'm here. I should have just gone with a mockery of JLB, but I'm not. So
also joining us, JLB from up north, RCMP JLB.
I am Canadian. I am extreme. I am here, and I am ready to talk about this subpar is being nice pay-per-view that we had this Sunday, because it was extreme, all right. Just extremely bad, but we shall talk more about that.
Boy, you were so wrong. Holy crap. Okay.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I have a feeling,
but we've had.
I have a feeling we're going to get into some differing opinions here tonight.
That's what debates are for, guys. That's what a podcast is for. So let's do it. We're here to debate, and it's always Canada versus America. So let's get her done.
So, before we get into all of that, though, I would like to remind everyone that Raw and Order WBU is part of the Tatnus Co. podcast network. So once you are done listening to this episode, and of course any other episode that came out this week that you have missed, and clicking the like button and clicking the share button and making sure you're subscribed and all of that fun stuff, head on over to tatnusco.com, check out the other shows on the network, and give them a listen. There's some great shows over there, and then you can come back here and listen to our next episodes, because we post a lot of episodes. But for now, let's get this horror show on the road. WWE Extreme Rules, or as they kept calling it, the horror show at Extreme Rules, which makes no fucking sense.
And demonetized.
We've been demonetized for a long time, and I don't care. So the reason it makes no sense is, aside from one match, there was nothing horror show about it.
Well, and the Rey Mysterio eye for an eye, if you want to.
That's still not even horror show. That's an Extreme Rules match. That's in the other name, Extreme Rules. But here's the other reason I hated it, is the whole horror show aesthetic didn't make sense with the neon glow show that everything else was for this show. I mean, their whole aesthetic was purple and neon green and almost this 80s neon vibe and all this stuff. That didn't fit with the horror show concept just in general there either. So
you could have literally called the swamp match the horror show at Extreme Rules.
Yeah, if they would have just called one part of it the horror show, I would have probably been fine with it. But they called the entire thing the horror show at Extreme Rules, and in the end, maybe it was a little prophetic as to how bad some of the matches would be. I don't know.
Well, at the same time, too, look at Greatest Match Ever, right? Look at that with Edge and Orton. They called that entire thing the Greatest Match Ever, and it was really only just referring to that match. So maybe they're kind of just doing that same whole thing with Extreme Rules, the horror show, where everything else is going to be Extreme Rules, and then we're going to end it with a horror show kind of thing. I don't know.
I think my biggest problem is the word "at" there in the middle. The horror show at Extreme Rules.
Right.
Like, maybe if they called it Extreme Rules, the horror show, you know what I mean? I'd have been like, I guess that makes sense. It's a subtitle, right? But the horror show at Extreme Rules bugs me.
Vince McMahon just liked it. I like it. Everything's
That's
horror.
Good shit.
That's it. I liked Tales from the Crypt when I was younger. We're calling it the horror show. We're doing it. I'm a Hitchcock fan. We're doing it. It's done. That's some good shit.
But so we started off with the kickoff show, Kevin Owens versus Murphy, in a match that was going for reasons.
Yep. It wasn't even in my wrestling pool. It wasn't announced until it happened. So
it just happened.
I'm just happy my Montreal boy won. And, it was what it was. I don't know what to tell you.
I'm sad to see Kevin Owens on a kickoff show again. I'm sad to see Buddy Murphy, or as he's just called now, Murphy, on a kickoff show. But at least he was there, I guess. It was a good match.
Take a win.
It was a good match. I'm not gonna dog the match at all. It's sad. This was actually probably better than one or two of the matches on the main card. But I feel like
better than one that is associated with this.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. But I feel like we say that almost every time about a pre-show
kickoff shows.
But in the end, Kevin Owens hit the stunner and got the victory over Murphy and advanced some storyline somehow.
Yeah, nothing happened afterwards, right? It just kind of ended, and I was like, okay.
It's done. And now there's still 12 minutes left till the actual show starts. So they had this weird aesthetic where they went back to the studio, and I can't even remember the names of the guys that were there. It was I was shocked by this. He's a Canadian guy. That's the Canadian guy that does our live events. Where it was Rosenberg and Stanford. What's his name? He annoys me. I hear him every week. Hey guys, it's your buddy. It's your pal, Scott Stanford. He's. I was shocked to see him there because he's technically in Toronto, I think. So I guess not, because he was obviously there with Rosenberg, and Rosenberg is very much American. So I'm interested to know where their studio was. And I don't know.
Stanford was there live because he's very much Canadian, and the borders should be closed.
But it was just a weird aesthetic for it, because it wasn't their typical round table that they had set up, although they did do something similar with that through Zoom or Skype or whatever, where they had Booker T and Renee Young and who was the other one? Was it Samoa Joe? No. JBL.
Yes.
But anyways, where they talked. But it was a whole lot of talking, because they're like, I'm not joking, there was still like 15 minutes of pre-show left after the KO match was done, of just like, the real show's gonna start sometime, but we're gonna just jaw jack for 15 minutes.
Yep. And you could have honestly have just put this match on the card just in general, because this ended by 10 o'clock Eastern. So there was still plenty of time to have this, or, if you didn't mess up a few other matches on the card. But we'll get to that.
My wife legitimately said when the final match of the night ended, she looked at me and said, it's done? That's it? It's just over?
It was really early. It was really early.
And yeah, so
I don't know. I've expected that of them, though. I feel like they've been doing that since Money in the Bank, or maybe the pay-per-view before.
Yeah, they've been doing it for a while. The problem is it just didn't feel like an ending, because it just kind of ended. But we'll get to that in a bit. When you get to the actual show starts off, it kicked off with the SmackDown Tag Championship match. New Day defending against Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro in a tables match. And I don't remember if this was announced beforehand as a tables match.
Yeah, it was done on SmackDown.
Oh, that's right, because I don't get to watch SmackDown live anymore. We've talked about that.
You should listen to my review on it. It was also a little late, but it was technically before Extreme Rules. So if you would have listened to your own podcast where I'm doing my North Report, maybe you would have known. Huh?
Maybe I was busy editing it, and I kind of skim through things sometimes. No, actually, what was that? I don't know. Let's go move on. Okay, Kofi Kingston. This was a decent match.
Yeah, it was good.
It actually surprised me at the end. I had picked New Day to win because I really didn't expect them to take the titles off and put them on Cesaro and Nakamura. But that's what they did. They had Cesaro drive Kingston through a stack of tables.
Yeah, pretty good spot too. I'm happy with it. I believe on my wrestling pool I picked Nakamura and Cesaro. Yeah, no, honestly, does it really matter though? Like, New Day wasn't doing much with it. They don't really need it. There's no fans there. You haven't been doing anything with the tag team championships with the New Day having them. Honestly, the tag team titles have been irrelevant since Miz and Morrison had them. They've been only relevant after since they
The
had
problem is, aside from the New Day and Cesaro and Nakamura, who do they have as tag challengers?
Sorry about that.
Yeah, Miz and Morrison. You also have that's a good.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, because you have the Usos, but Jimmy Uso's hurt, so no Usos. The other tag team that they were building up was Forgotten Sons, but Jackson Riker kind of got himself in hot water on Twitter, and they're not going to be appearing for a while. So yeah. I mean, it's like,
I don't think
who else do they have? So that kind of played in why I thought they were just going to keep it on New Day, is because New Day being the champions, at least they can come out and do wacky hijinks and keep it around. Because I mean, who else are they going to have? New Day. This is Cesaro and Nakamura have a rematch against New Day, and then they have a New Day rematch against Cesaro and Nakamura. I mean,
I'm sure they're going to add the Miz and Morrison back onto there. I feel like they should do the same thing with how they did the tag team titles, because that's only the Smackdown, right? You can't have them on both brands. I feel like you should make the tag team titles, or all championships for that matter, alternate, or maybe just the tag team titles alternate on each brand, because holy hell, there's not enough tag teams on SmackDown, and at least on Raw they have a few more than SmackDown.
Well, yeah. I mean, in the end, there's rumors that they're talking about getting rid of the brand split. And if they do, they're probably going to have to do unification belt, matches. Because I do think in the case of the tag titles, it almost would make more sense just to have one set of tag champions across both shows.
Like you have for the women's.
Like for the women, yeah.
So... well, no, wait, there's only one tag team women's champion. Yeah, exactly. Like for the women's. I don't get why you just don't do that for the tag team titles. And honestly, with the whole pandemic situation, it would just make sense to just unify the brands for now. Because you're seeing the same stuff over and over on Raw and SmackDown. You're seeing MVP start off the show, McIntyre come out, Seth Rollins talking about Rey Mysterio, Aleister Black randomly coming out and getting a spot in. And then we have the Bayley and Banks coming out and doing something, and randomly we see Nikki Cross on commentary.
Well, I mean, in the end, they had the brand split partially because they could have separate creative visions for it, but now that the creative is all the same anyways,
right?
Might as well just do it. I'm a believer in the brand split if you do it right, but they haven't been doing it right for a few years now, and so.
Well, and there's that, and I will give WWE their due here. Pandemic has something to do with it, because you don't have full use of a lot of your wrestlers. Some wrestlers don't want to come in, throughout everything that's going on. So you're also missing a lot of wrestlers. So I think for now, just make the brand split not a thing. Maybe not make it a thing, so you can just use your wrestlers wherever you want. But ultimately, have those designated wrestlers still on those same shows to kind of just make things afloat and get everyone to have TV time. Because you got to switch something up, man. You're seeing the same thing over and over and over again on Raw or SmackDown.
Speaking of wrestlers that are not available or not coming in right now, did you see the picture Roman Reigns tweeted out of his workout?
Yeah, the guy looks built. The Rock was even impressed.
Yeah, Roman Reigns looks jacked.
Yeah. All he's doing is working out. Like, it's not doing much. So.
I mean, quite frankly, for a long time, I've kind of wondered with Roman Reigns why he always comes out and he wears the vest, and I've always joked that it's because he's flabby underneath it, and so he wears the vest to cover up that he's. But seeing this picture of him now, man, dude. When you come back, don't wear the vest.
Or don't be the Shield anymore. Get rid of that entire uniform. I don't want to see you in that Shield get up anymore. I want to see a different kind of Roman. It's perfect time to re-identify yourself and redesign yourself to something different.
Get rid of the vest, because dude, you're freaking jacked.
And the cargo pants. Don't do it. Don't do these police cargo pants. I want to see a new Roman. Give me what I want.
The only reason I don't want to push for him to get rid of the cargo pants is because I don't want to see him wrestling in shorts, and it's not that I don't. I think I don't like the brief style shorts on almost anyone. They look silly. I prefer leggings. I prefer, when Jericho switched from the leggings to the shorts, I thought he looked silly. And I know for a fact that that Vince would say, well, if you're not going to wear the cargo pants, put on these briefs. And I just think it looks silly. So, but that's me.
Well, they'll figure something out. I mean, look at Lashley. Lashley looked so much better with his little not cargo pants, but his tights kind of thing. He looks
He looks way better with the tights than he did with the shorts that he wore for so long.
That's it. Yeah. So
anyways,
we'll see. Yeah.
But that's beside the point. We will move on. So yeah, new tag champions for the Smackdown.
Woohoo!
I guess I really wish that when they threw together team like Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura, that they would just take a little bit of time and come up with a team entrance music. Because I hate it when they play one person's song and then that person just kind of stands there looking like an idiot while they wait to play the other person's song.
And I'm waiting for them to mix it because I feel like with Cesaro's theme, there's an easy way to mix it into Shinsuke's,
I think they could. I think they should or something. I just hate it when because they still do it with, they did it for a long time with the Kabuki Warriors. They still do it for Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross when they tag. They still do it for Sasha Banks and Bayley. And I'm like, you guys are the tag champions. I'm fine with you using your solo music when you come out for a solo match, but when you're coming out for a tag match, be a team and have a team theme.
They tend to do that though once they're a tag team, like once they got the titles, because the bar was the same thing. You would get Cesaro and then Sheamus come out, or whatever. Sheamus and then Cesaro come out. Then when they finally got the titles, it was kind of infused together. So maybe that's what they were waiting for to dish out, because I'm sure they've made something. Like, you're not going to wait last minute now just to infuse.
Well, yeah, but at the same point, again, Bayley and Sasha still come out to their individual musics, and they've been tag champs for 2 months now?
This is true. Yeah. Then
imagine if there was music that they could just like express that they're the best friends with.
Yeah, just something that talks about best friends.
Like best friends.
Wow, best friends. Anyway,
wait, different promotion. Sorry.
Speaking of a best friend, the next match was the SmackDown Women's Championship match, Nikki Cross versus Bayley. Before we got to the match, there was kind of an interesting little backstage segment that had Asuka and Kairi Sane and Alexa Bliss trying to hype Nikki Cross up for this match. And that ended with, it was so great because they're like, you will win and you will be champion. And then Kairi Sane at the end said, but even if you don't win, we'll still be best friends. And Asuka kind of looked at her like, what the hell are you saying?
No, I like that.
I thought it was hilarious. Like, we're not going to still be friends with them if they don't win. Come on, man. This match, D.A. Fabe and I were kind of talking about this, and I think they messed up the way to end this match in a lot of different ways. I think this was a perfect opportunity for them to put the belt on Nikki Cross, which, spoiler alert, they did not. Secondly, I think if they wanted to end it the way that they ended it, they had a better way to do it because they were at a pay-per-view called Extreme Rules. This was one of the matches of the night that had no Extreme Rule, had no stipulations, yeah. And in the end, the ending finish happened with the referee was distracted. Sasha Banks slid Bayley her boss knuckle ring. Bayley then punched Nikki Cross in the gut with it, and then hit Nikki Cross with her weird face plant move to get the win and retain. My point is, they could have done that exact same storyline without the ref distraction. All they needed to do is announce this match as a no DQ match, because again, they're at a pay-per-view called Extreme Rules. I don't know why there were matches on this card that didn't have some sort of stipulation, because the whole point of your pay-per-view is that this is Extreme Rules.
Yeah, and they have been doing that for a while, though, because originally this was One Night Stand, right? And in 2009, they switched it to Extreme Rules. So it was originally based off ECW's pay-per-view, and so they just named it their own little thing. I don't know. But one thing they also messed up on, too, because I think it was an edit that was wrong or something, or the camera zoomed in for no reason, and it made me think that they were going to do it another way, because you still saw the ring, the Sasha Banks ring, in the ring on the mat. Mm-hmm. It happened, and I was like, oh, the referee's going to see it, and he's going to be like, no, wait, this match is going to continue. And then I would have been like, that would have been perfect, because then that's what would have got Bayley pissed off at Sasha or something, you know what I mean? And then make Nikki Cross win that way or something, and then Bayley loses the title and she gets pissed off at Sasha, and then that's what would have maybe have led to something else for later on, where that's going to continue the feud between Sasha and Bayley for SummerSlam.
Mm-hmm. Well, believe it or not, that was kind of our thoughts too. To have Nikki win and Bayley lose, and then you could have, Bayley lose and Sasha win, and Bayley's now pissed because she doesn't get to be
Bayley dos straps.
Yes.
Yeah, could have done it either way. So Bayley can't be dos straps, but at the same time, maybe Banks would have lost because Bayley would have been already so jealous of her getting that opportunity to be dos straps that she would make her best friend lose, so that she doesn't have to be the person with the one belt like Sasha was for her, thus making a whole jealousy angle, you know? Like, God
there's
damn
a lot
it.
of ways they could have done with it. They just didn't.
Absolutely, they did not.
But like I said, I mean, the big thing that just made me angry is, why have this match end in shenanigans like this when you could have had it end exactly the same way and not had the ref distraction and just called this an Extreme Rules match, you know, a no DQ match, because it's at Extreme Rules. But anyways, I think it is what it is. It wasn't a bad match. I'm angry because I do think it's time they give Nikki Cross a belt.
Some attention.
Attention. Because right now, no matter what they do, until she wins a belt, she's still going to be Alexa Bliss's sidekick friend. You know what I mean? Because Alexa Bliss is the champion and she's not currently champion, but she's been champion multiple times, and Nikki Cross has never held singles gold. And so she's always going to seem like second to Alexa Bliss until she's got some singles gold behind her. Mm-hmm. But moving on, we had the previously announced Apollo Crews versus MVP match, or did we?
So, from what we were reported, or I guess what you have mentioned to me earlier, essentially this match did not happen because Apollo Crews, according to WWE, wasn't physically ready or medically cleared for the matchup.
Yeah, they claimed that he failed his pre-match physical.
And so MVP comes out. He says, well, Apollo Crews isn't here, so that means that I win by default. He runs and gets his title, because that's technically his title, right? So the other U.S. championship is not a thing anymore?
Well, that was kind of the storyline they were pitching with this, is that Apollo Crews has the U.S. title, and then MVP made this new U.S. title, and it was going to be, I guess, essentially the match was going to be to unify who was the real title, the real champion. Mm-hmm. But reports I'm hearing online are, and this makes a ton of sense, because we haven't seen Apollo Crews in weeks, right? That apparently Apollo Crews actually is at home because he tested positive for COVID, and they were supposed to do originally Apollo Crews unveiling the new United States Championship belt, and then when he failed the COVID test, they switched it to MVP debuting the new United States Championship belt, which then was going to set it up as a unification match for Extreme Rules, but then Apollo Crews couldn't get cleared in time. But WWE's not admitting that, so we don't know for certain, I guess.
But we know so we don't necessarily. So there have been reports that was legit reported. It's not by like a Ryan Satin or Meltzer has reported that Cruz was one of the people that got the COVID.
I'm trying to find the tweet that I was reading before.
Because this essentially happened when Renee Young got it. Then.
Yeah, it would have been about that same time, which, remember, that was the same time that they had, like, reportedly a dozen or more people. So it could have been the same time. It could have been one of them there, but I'm trying to see. So find that tweet. I'll find it. We'll keep talking. So, according to this, Apollo Crews was unable to defend, so MVP declared himself the winner and the new United States champion. Maybe he is. At best, this is a stopgap to put it off until Apollo Crews can come back and challenge and say, no, I'm the real United States champion, and you got to beat me to find out, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So they're waiting, I guess, to see what happens with the whole COVID when he can't come back. God, so that means we're just going to see the same bull crap on Raw. MVP's amazing, but man, I just can't stand when it's the same thing over and over and over again. You know who you can use? You can bring Alexander and Ricochet to SmackDown and let them do something there, because I am sick and tired of Bobby Lashley just beating up on two and giving him the full Nelson every freaking week. And especially when you piss me off even more by having a best of WWE with Ricochet. Okay? And then you show me all these Ricochet matches. Fun fact, majority of them are in NXT. And, just really grinds my gears, guys. Just stop this. Or, you know what? Prove me wrong and give Ricochet the United States Championship tomorrow on Raw and make him face Apollo Crews when he comes back. Then I will be happy. But they're not going to do that.
You know what really grinds my gears? The fact that we're still talking about a match that didn't actually happen to be a match. If we want to bash something, the next one is the one to bash.
True.
Well, there's plenty of bashing to go around here. So I just wish, if it is COVID-19, I couldn't find the tweet, and so I don't know who reported it. That's just what I was hearing. But if it is COVID-19 that kept Apollo Crews off TV, then just say it.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had, what are we up to now? Like 3 million Americans diagnosed with it. It's not like it's rare, It's not like you're saying got cancer.
Like, if you count ex-wives that say that they have it or that they had it when there's never been a test, there's even more.
I feel like they were just that AEW was going to use that against them, and Taz was going to pull another shoot promo on them or something. We're not sloppy like the WWE is. Da, 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 da. We are more extreme, but our wrestlers get tested. I would have loved to have seen that. Like, you should have just said it, and we would have got a great Taz promo. But no. Rip that away
so
from
let's
us.
talk about some channel lock flyers.
Yeah, so we will move on to the next match, which was the eye for an eye match with Seth Rollins versus Rey Mysterio, that started off with Seth Rollins walking to the ring with a pair of channel lock pliers. And I
feel like that's a really inefficient way to remove an eyeball.
Yeah. I've watched enough kung fu movies to know you can just pluck it out with, you've seen Kill Bill. They just go, and then it's out.
That's the end of it, yeah.
With your fingers.
A lot of skill, okay.
Or even a knife would have been more useful.
A knife or a screwdriver?
A shoehorn. A shoehorn actually would have worked better in this instance.
Well, channel lock pliers, all you're going to do is squish it. Those are about squeezing, not about...
Yeah.
Anyways, we knew this was going to be an absolute shit show.
Absolutely.
From the moment they announced it. My speculation is, and this is entirely speculation, I don't have any insider news or whatever. I've just heard reports that Rey Mysterio is working on a per match deal, that he's no longer under contract. And And it's no secret that he's been wanting to establish Dominic as a potential wrestler, and that WWE is giving Dominic some looks. My speculation is that this was entirely put together as a way to write Rey Mysterio off TV, potentially forever, because he may not ever sign another deal with WWE and go off to wrestle in AAA and New Japan and maybe even AEW, you know.
Well, and what a wonderful way to get a future wrestler who has two wrestling dads in. However, what a horrible match to retire one of the only still alive wrestling dad.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, keep in mind, this is the same company that had Randy Orton break Matt Hardy's neck on his last match, so that then, you know, when he showed up on AEW, perfectly healthy and everything, it made no sense. But that's WWE. We're gonna
that place doesn't actually exist.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But long story short,
I feel like wrestling is two cinematic universes.
Yeah. Just pretend like the other one doesn't exist. You're good.
I will give Bray props for the toolbox under the ring.
There were
entertaining rebar, even though the rebar was never used. The use of rebar was really kind of cool.
There were interesting parts to this. There were fun things. I liked that he pulled a table out from under the ring, and you thought, what is a table going to do? But then he pulled it out farther, and there was a toolbox on it.
Yeah.
You know, and you're like, oh, so you just hit a toolbox out there. That's great. But spoiler alert, Seth Rollins wins by somehow or another.
An eyeball?
Yeah, somehow or another he drove Mysterio's face into the steps and it pulled the eyeball out.
Well, and interestingly enough, it pulled the one out that's covered by an eye patch.
Mm-hmm.
Which he took off for some stupid reason. Like, he took off his eye patch, like, oh, I'm good now. I'm gonna.
That's how you get to the blood packet, man.
Well, it's even more than a blood packet. They're actually, if you, someone posted a zoomed in photo, so I didn't do it myself, but I've seen it. You can actually see Rey Mysterio is holding in his hand up to his face a fake eyeball.
Oh, eye?
Yeah,
oh, wow.
With fake nerve attached to it, so it looks like it's hanging out. But they, you know, if they really go that far, they should have just let it hang out and been like all horror show on it.
Yeah,
you know?
It would have almost been like a horror show at Extreme Rules.
Yeah, I guess.
And Seth was puking.
This match, I mean, the match was good. The stipulation was garbage. Truthfully, I mean, you have two wrestlers that it's difficult to put on a bad match with, but by God, Vince found a stipulation to at least make you disgusted by the end of it.
I did enjoy
that Seth vomited.
I did enjoy Rey Mysterio hitting Seth with the stomp at one point.
Yes, that was cool. Shortly after he hit him with the 5-star frog splash.
Mm-hmm.
Not 5-star. Sorry, just the frog splash. 5 stars only come from RVD.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But
the Hurricane Rana to a powerbomb, that was a great move. Powerbomb into the barricade. That was towards the end.
I'm not 100% sure what storyline they're trying to tell with Seth Rollins being so disgusted by doing what he said he was going to do that he vomited.
I feel like
ew, gross, bloody eyeball knocked out.
And I felt like it was a little bit delayed because when he initially stopped touching Rey Mysterio, it sounds wrong. When he initially stopped pressing Rey Mysterio's head into the stairs, it's like he left and then he was about to go back and then the referee was looking and then he stopped it and then Seth puked like maybe 3 minutes later. And I was like, why was there a delay on you knowing if you did your job or not by taking his eye out? And then why did you only puke later on as well if it was so disgusting?
Yeah.
Here's another question. If you're the referee, if this is, fortunately we know it's all kayfabe, but if this is real life, if you're the referee whose job is actually to verify an eyeball has been ejected from the socket,
Mm-hmm.
do you decline that job?
Oh, if you want to get fired, you decline that job, but it's ultimately your job to referee a match, and in this case, it was to wrestle an eye for an eye match. Which is probably the easiest job in the world.
I just saw Bayley tweeted out an hour ago, I hope Rey Mysterio is okay.
Her promo was awesome afterwards, after her match too.
Her villain work is getting better. It really is.
It really is. She's like, I hope Ray doesn't have double vision, but if he is, it's just because he sees I have both belts. I was like, yes.
Jeez.
But so Monday Night Messiah won.
Anyway.
Yay.
Yep. Maya extracting, and it's a match style I hope that we never see again.
It's a first ever eye for an eye match. I hope it's the last ever. I hope we never see this again.
And I've only seen the eye situation technically through a zoomed picture on social media. I was like, well, we didn't get to see anything, and then a whole bunch of people posted it, and I was like, oh, that's where it's out. I'm like, it looks fake, but it still technically looks better than AJ Styles' hand in the Boneyard match.
But my point is, if you're going to go so far as to have a fake eye, make it so he can put it in so it looks like it's actually hanging out of his mask, or at least have it hang out through his fingers or something like that.
Especially while they have that patch there that they could do that with.
Anyway,
I'm rewatching it right now. I missed the part where Seth, like literally, I'm watching this match right as we're speaking. I missed the part where Seth tried to tie Ray to the rope, and Seth needs lessons in knot tying. That's really horrible. Anyway, but the rest of this match is too. So we can move forward.
What Becky also told him. Didn't. No. Too soon.
Anyways, moving on.
Next match. I'm jumping it just in case.
Raw Women's Championship match. Asuka versus Sasha Banks. The other half of the storyline that we were talking earlier. And this one also ended weird.
It did. It started weird. Kairi's umbrella guitar. Yes, I jumped to it, but she's not to that yet. Kairi's umbrella guitar thing. I was like, what the hell is going on? Sorry, I just had to put that note in. It was noticeable enough that I was like, this could be a predecessor to how bad this match might end up being.
I 100% think Kairi does not have any F's to give right now.
Yeah.
Because her contract is almost up, and all reports have it that she's planning on going back to Japan. And she's like, I'll do whatever the heck I want. They can't stop me.
I'll play the umbrella guitar.
Yeah.
That's what'll happen. I mean, there's a point here where Asuka looks at her like, what the hell are you doing? So anyway, yeah, we have them both. We have Kairi and Bayley at ringside. Bayley's promo right before this was really good when she's all sweaty and like, yeah, we're going to be the double champs. And yeah, all that stuff. And then we get to the match and we get a little back and forth. And in all eventuality, have we actually mentioned this on the recording? I know we talked about it off the recording, how this ends.
We have not talked about the ending yet for this. So
this anything you want to talk about before we get to the ending? JLB, Smarks?
I mean, this was a decent match all around.
Like, it really was.
The ending is where this falls.
It's the schmoz finish. Yeah.
So, again, this was another no stipulations match. On a pay-per-view called Extreme Rules. No stipulations for it. But in the end, Asuka attempted to do the green mist on Sasha Banks and missed Sasha Banks and hit the official.
Correct.
So the official now is blinded.
Banks technically moved out of the way.
Whatever. Missed.
Yeah, she missed. Asuka missed the mist.
Yes, the missed the target.
Picking up the Miz.
But okay, so while the referee couldn't see anything, Bayley jumped in and El Kabonged Asuka with the belt. I can't remember which title it was, probably the Smackdown title, but anyways. And then Sasha Banks goes to pin Asuka, and Bayley pulls the shirt off the referee, who apparently being blinded by the mist means he can't even defend himself and keep his shirt on, I guess. puts the referee's shirt on, counts the pin 1, 2, 3, and then goes over and demands they ring the bell and say that Sasha Banks is the champion.
So weird.
So
it's shenanigans.
Sasha won.
And the shenanigans turns into a storyline tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm like 100% sure that on Raw tomorrow they have maybe an authority figure like a Stephanie McMahon or Triple H or Vince even come out and announce.
Vicky Guerrero.
It's not gonna be Vicky Guerrero, that's for sure.
She's managing other big things at the moment.
She is probably never going to be back in a WWE.
Never? You mean like ever?
Ever. Ever. Unless AEW folds and WWE buys them.
Yeah.
And then Vince will be Betty, which...
Yeah, there will be no excuses for that.
No.
Excuse
me. Anyways, so I'm almost certain an authority figure is going to come out and say the ending isn't valid, and so either they're just going to put the belt back on Asuka, or they're going to say it's vacated, and now we're going to have a match to determine which that storyline would make sense from the standpoint of storyline wise. Asuka was never supposed to be champion, right? She was supposed to challenge Becky for championship and probably have Becky win again. But then Becky found out she was pregnant, or at least announced she was pregnant. She might have found out beforehand. Who knows? And so they pivoted to making Asuka the champion. But Asuka didn't actually win the championship.
She took the test that Monday, 2 minutes before Raw.
Yeah, right then. She's like, oh, it looks like I found out we're pivoting. Give the title to Asuka.
You know what I think, though, in that regard? So I like that idea. And I feel like it's not going to be a whole blame game. Oh, the Bayley's going to blame Sasha. I think it's going to literally be Sasha, Asuka, SummerSlam.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why I think vacating. I think it's not going to be that Asuka's complaining. I think it's going to be an authority figure comes out and says that wasn't a valid victory. We're vacating the belt. We're going to have a tournament or something like that to...
No, don't do it. Please, God, not another tournament. Swear to God.
And then the winner of the tournament will face Sasha Banks at SummerSlam or whatever. I don't know. I'm just speculating, but that's just what I expect to happen. Like I said, this was a good match with a crappy finish.
Yeah, I mean, the back and forths are really good in this match. You have the Asuka lock applied in the middle of the ring, and Sasha slides over. This is towards the end. Slides over, gets her foot on the rope. You have... didn't Asuka get out of the bank statement at one point? I thought she did at one point.
I can't remember.
Yeah, right before the finish, because they were in the middle of the ring for that too. Mm-hmm. So you have that. You have, I mean, there's just a lot of a backstabber get hit and missed. Everybody sells everybody else's moves. There is nothing that even is remotely not sold on this or poorly sold. Everything is well sold on this match. Like, if Dolph and Drew, which is coming up, isn't as good a match as it is, this is solidly the match of the night, and it was the best match we'd seen to this point in the night, by far. Yeah, up until the finish, yes. But Rey and Seth was a good match up until the finish, and we knew it was going to suck at the finish. Like, it was hard watching that match, the prior one, knowing that the way that this match is going to be won is somebody sort of gets an eye removed.
Well, that's the deal. We even said it before that match. There was no good ending to that match.
No, not even close.
It was a dumb stipulation and a dumb idea, and this ending to the Sasha Asuka match was dumb. There were better ways they could have done it if they wanted it to be a schmoz ending where, but I guess whatever.
Well, I mean, it's Extreme Rules. Like, you can do a schmoz and have it be legal. Just
Yeah.
call it a no DQ match.
Yeah, I mean that's the other.
Okay.
It'd be a no DQ match, and then when Asuka looks like she's about to win, Bayley just hops in and still kabongs her with the belt, and then Sasha gets the victory, and then you can still have Asuka, look good because she didn't get beat cleanly, and she can eventually.
You
challenge.
can even have the mist spray into the ref's eyes. You can have tomorrow night say you didn't actually win because Bayley did the count. If that's what they do tomorrow night.
Like you could have just had another ref come out too at the same time.
Yeah,
if you have another ref come out, it doesn't open up what we think their storyline is tomorrow night.
Well, yeah, but I think their storyline is dumb. So I think the better option would have been to have Sasha, it's still effectively end the same way, but with a real ref count. But because Bayley interfered and hit her with the belt, Asuka still looks strong because she didn't lose cleanly. And then Banks can be the champion, and then Asuka can work her way back up to number one contender, and you can have a rematch at SummerSlam that doesn't have an Extreme Rule tag to it.
Yeah, in fact, you can have a Banks win and lose immediately on her next defense the next night against Asuka.
Don't you dare!
That's the routine, right?
They would never do that.
No.
Done it. I see the sarcasm here, but
they're only one finger away from completing a whole hand of it for Banks. So,
and this is why I feel that this entire pay-per-view, at least for the ending of everything, was rushed. Like they didn't know what they were doing. The storyline building was fine, but ultimately the ending of the matches, I feel, were just up in the air last minute, and that's why just everything seems so unorganized and silly.
Well, you can tell a boatload of this entire pay-per-view went into something we'll talk about after we talk about the next thing we talk about.
Yes. After the next thing, we will talk about something else.
Yes.
We'll move into the next thing.
That made sense. You stop it.
We will move on to the next thing, which is Drew McIntyre defending the WWE Championship versus Dolph Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler. I just created his Impact Wrestling debut name. What is Dolph Ziggler doing in the Impact Zone? Dolph Ziggler.
Dolph Ziggler.
There's a stipulation on this that Dolph Ziggler had not announced prior to this. He was keeping it a secret, and I am going to go on the record right now. I've already talked to DFA about it. I like this. I like this a lot. I've always had a problem.
Are we legally allowed to do the audio of that? Because I could totally crank up the TV and play the audio from him doing
I'm going to err on the side of caution.
Caution. All right, we won't do it.
But we've talked about it before. It always bugs me when it's a heel person who gets to set a stipulation, and then they choose a stipulation that doesn't benefit them for whatever reason. It bugs me so much. Like but Ziggler didn't do that. Ziggler set it up. He was a heel person who was able to set the stipulation up to stack the deck in his favor, which I think to me made this match so much better. So Dolph Ziggler announced that the stipulation was this was an Extreme Rules match for him, but for Drew McIntyre it was a standard match, which meant Dolph Ziggler could do pretty much anything.
Right.
But Drew McIntyre had to wrestle a normal match in the ring. Even more than that, if it was a count out, the title would change hands. If Drew McIntyre got disqualified, the title would change hands. The only way Drew McIntyre could win was with a pinfall or submission inside the ring, and he would retain. Any other way, Dolph Ziggler would get the belt, and that's perfect for a heel to snivelingly get it all set up where I have the deck stacked against in my favor against you. There's so many ways I can win, and only one way you can win.
Absolutely.
I think this was perfect. The match was great. It featured, Drew McIntyre always trying to keep it in the ring, trying to make it back to the ring when there was a 10 count. A couple times he barely made it in at 9. Dolph setting up table after table after table outside, knowing that if Drew threw him through a table, then he'd be the champion because Drew would get disqualified and the title would change hands. Or if Drew got counted out, so he'd hit him with a major move on the outside and hope he gets counted out. Dolph Ziggler didn't have to rush back in. He couldn't get counted out in any way, shape, or form. But Drew McIntyre had to. There were so many good moves. Famouser off of a table to leave him, Drew McIntyre, waiting on the outside. Maybe he doesn't make it. Oh, he gets back in. Chair to the knee inside of the ring that was just a half fall.
That went straight into a
big
was
elbow.
that another famouser he did after that? No, he did another one of his finishers after that. Right after the chair to the knee. Didn't really matter, but
And I think it was the zigzag.
The only problem I have now, this match storyline wise was amazing. The story was really built well. I just feel like maybe they should have done the opposite in terms of how the match went, because Ziggler got the bulk of the beatings, whereas you should have at least have had Ziggler do the chair shots and like he did do that, but a little bit more, because it still seems like McIntyre was a bit too strong for that kind of match. Where great, I get it, he's the champion, you're supposed to make him look big, but it ultimately made Ziggler look horrible. I feel that's my only issue. Maybe have Ziggler hit McIntyre with a bunch of
I don't know, man. Like, I felt like Ziggler was in control for so much of this, and it seemed like desperation to get back into the ring. Obviously, McIntyre, the way I felt through this match, and yours is different, but McIntyre leads off really strong. Ziggler finds that window because the rules are in his favor. Lots of beatings by Ziggler. McIntyre does a little overcoming here, a little overcoming there, a little overcoming here. But at the end of the day, the stipulations are helping Ziggler. And McIntyre got lucky and caught him with a Claymore during a super kick from Ziggler.
Wait, Andrew. No, he was about to do a sweet chin, and then Claymore Country, here we go. Really, I like that finish. At the same time, though, McIntyre had more control over the entire match. Ziggler had spots, the table, the zigzag, the famouser, the hitting with the chairs to the back, but ultimately after that it was all McIntyre.
Well, my thoughts are the only problem I had with this match was the temper tantrum at the end. I didn't think if Ziggler, any logical person who has that type of advantage in a match, is no longer worrying about a temper tantrum at the end. They're worried solely, and I mean solely, about finding more things to beat that man with.
That's kind of my take on this. Is Dolph Ziggler went into this?
I would just go for the count out. I would have just gone for a count out. Just hit him with chairs so many times that it becomes a last man standing. I think.
And that's kind of my thoughts. Is that Dolph Ziggler knew the entire time in this match that Drew McIntyre was going to outpower him. Was going to be able to win with any single move, the Glasgow Kiss or the Claymore. And so that's why he stacked the deck so much in his favor. He knew that from a power standpoint, from a explosiveness standpoint, he didn't stand a chance, and that's why he had to stack the deck so much in his favor. And so that's why I don't mind the concept of Drew McIntyre having more offense at times in this, because that's the story they were telling him, is that Dolph Ziggler knew that that's why he had to stack so many things in his favor, because he was outskilled, outsized, outmuscled on this.
Theoretically, all he really had to do was upset McIntyre enough that he'd chase him for more than 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Chase him for 5 seconds away from the ring.
And that's the deal. There were times that he did basically that. So much of the match was about how can I keep Drew McIntyre out of the ring. I mean, he did that through the table, top rope, elbow drop to the outside. The whole point of that was, I'm going to put my body on the line. I'm going to destroy myself.
If I can't get up, it doesn't matter. I don't get counted out.
Yeah. To try to keep you out for the 10, because it doesn't matter. I can be out forever, right? If this destroys me and I don't ever stand up from this, I'm still the champion, as long as it keeps you out for 10.
Yeah.
So that's I didn't hate any part of this storyline. This was my favorite match of the night.
Yeah, by far.
Yep, that's match of the night for sure. I agree.
And it was a good match. Like the wrestling was good. The spots were good. For as many big man spots as they had, they looked legit. It was just a good overall match. The suplex that was going to go through the table and then I better not, and turns around and does it to the floor. Like,
yeah.
That's
well,
great.
that's the deal. Because he knew if I do the suplex through the table, I lose. But he was smart enough to catch that. But that was Dolph Ziggler trying to bait him into it. Set up this table over here and try to bait Drew McIntyre into throwing me through that table, at which point I win. Everything Dolph Ziggler did was all about trying to give Drew McIntyre a chance to mess up and him win.
Yep. Yep.
So I loved it. I loved every second of this match. My favorite match of the night.
For sure.
And
now
we've
we'll
known
move
for
on.
a long time that Dolph's a developmental talent, unfortunately, even though he's world champion caliber.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's definitely made it to the point where WWE sees him as, for lack of a better term, a gateway. You know, you set someone up to beat Dolph Ziggler to allow them to then be in the main event.
Yes.
I mean, for a long time,
bottom of the main card.
Yeah, for a long time, he was even the person that every NXT superstar had to come up and beat to establish themselves on the road.
Right. Yeah,
which sucked.
But then finally, we will move on from that match to the main event. It was the final match of the night, but it didn't take place in the arena in any way, shape, or form. And this will probably be the most polarizing segment of the entire night. I have been keeping my eyes on Twitter and Facebook, and this was one of those, you either liked this or you did not like it.
I would call it the third best cinematic match we've had.
I enjoyed it, but
it was good.
Like I say, going through results on Twitter and everything, it's just like people are like, I hated this. I'm glad I didn't, pay actual money for this, or so even the threats of canceling the network account and all of this stuff, or people saying this match was awesome. I loved it. So
I would say the only downside to this match actually comes in a very, very, the only downside to this segment comes in a very, very side note. If you look at the Extreme Horror Show at Extreme Rules description, the first line of the description says Braun Strowman defends his title against Bray Wyatt in a swamp match. And I thought it was a non-title match, and there was no way you could say that a title changed hands here.
No, it was a non-title match.
Yeah, it's a non-title match.
But they said defends his title.
Yeah, well, they said wrong because it was 100% a non-title match.
Yeah, because they said on
can't have this be a title match.
No, for sure. It definitely wasn't, though.
So I'm going to go back really quickly to the Sasha versus Asuka match real quick, because I just saw something on Twitter that reminded me of something I wanted to talk about on it. There was a spot in the match where I can't remember what exactly, a big move off the top. Both Sasha and Asuka are down, laying there. The ref is checking on them. And I think the camera was out of place and caught something that typically we don't see on actual TV. And what it is while the ref is checking on them after this big move, I think it was like a superplex. They're both laying there. But you actually can see on camera Sasha squeeze Asuka's shoulder, and Asuka really quickly reach up and kind of squeeze Sasha's head really quickly, just really quickly letting each other know, I'm okay. Are you okay? Yes, I'm okay. And that's something we don't normally see actually on screen. They normally try to make the camera angles hide those little movements. But I remembered noticing it during the match, and I wanted to talk about it and then forgot when we were on it. But it was just kind of an interesting thing. I bet you whoever was in charge of filming this and the truck probably got yelled at afterwards for letting that go on. But it was actually kind of a nice moment, because one of my favorite things with professional wrestling is, yes, this is all a show and a storyline, and you can get riveted and get all into it, but at the same point, these people are performing and they're caring for each other. They are wanting to make sure that what they did not hurt each other. So it was a nice moment. But I just know that they probably didn't want it actually shown on TV.
I did see technically her touching Asuka's arm, and I just thought she didn't want to move it because she was acting like she was out. But that's very interesting that it was a whole squeeze situation, because I felt like she was touching her, and I'm just like, okay, maybe she's just not moving because she's supposed to be out, and it'd be weird if she kind of just moved her hand. But okay, so that was just a mess up on the camera guy's part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that happens a lot where the ref comes down and you see the yes. You know?
Well, normally, like the ref after big moves, you'll watch it, if you know it's happening. The ref will grab the person's hand and squeeze it really quickly, and wait for the squeeze back to make sure that everyone's okay. I mean, if you've watched wrestling long enough, you're familiar with those things. The ref's job is to make sure everyone's okay after each match, after each big move, sort of a thing.
Yeah.
But seeing the two performers do it to each other, just subtly, was really kind of neat. But like I said, I bet you the cameraman was not appreciated for that afterwards.
But okay, and in the video that you just sent us, though, it didn't happen exactly like that on TV, though. They edited two different parts together, no? Because I don't remember seeing it like that. That just seems...
That's well, okay. The video that I showed, the person zoomed in on it, but it was all one shot.
Okay. Oh, okay, fair enough. So I thought like camera guy did it that way. I'm like, no way, I missed it.
No, it was all one shot. It was just they zoomed in on this to show a little bit that, hey, here you can see Asuka doing this to do it. The Sasha squeezing, and I mean, it was all on one screen.
Right, yeah, okay, just making sure.
So when you watch here on it, they zoomed in to show it on the thing, but then the first you can see both of them happening all on the wide shot, and then they go back in and they do close-up shots that's were added afterwards.
Okay.
But if you watch on the wide shot, you can see both of them happening on the wide shot, and that's what you saw. But anyways, back to the swamp fight. That was a non-title match. This was a cinematic match, and this took place outside, and this was the main event. But I don't remember the announcers making a big deal of this being the last match of the night, the main event, whatever. It just kind of
as early as it was happening, I thought we were going to get another match after it. I was like, what else is there to do? Did I miss something? I feel like everything's done. Well, it was.
Well, and it also ended kind of weird too, but I guess we'll get there.
So it started off, you had Bray Wyatt in the old Bray Wyatt, cult leader Bray Wyatt gimmick, in a rocking chair, as Braun Strowman pulled up in his big old pickup truck, and Braun Strowman walks up, and then all of a sudden Bray Wyatt disappears, but the rocking chair is still rocking. And as soon as that happened, you knew for a fact that this was going to be a weird thing, because it was just 100% weird. I
didn't understand saying I'm home, like right away. I'm home. Like, yeah. Oh, okay. I guess you're just gonna join him. Oh, nope. You have to take a butt kicking first.
I think it was probably originally scripted to be more like a The Shining, Daddy's Home sort of a thing. Like, not I'm back to join, but I'm here. I'm finally back here to kick your ass, sort of thing. But I mean, there was a point that Braun Strowman hit Braun Strowman with a shovel, and then
that was fantastic. That's what I knew this was going to be a good match.
Braun Strowman wakes up and he's tied to a chair and being preached to by cult leader Bray Wyatt, and then there's a point Braun Strowman gets bit by a snake.
So who was the big dude that you did see his face?
I think that was just Braun.
It was Braun.
No, the one that Braun lit on fire.
Oh, I don't I mean, I just thought it was just some guy that they used, some maybe like performance guy.
Well, you could tell that they were trying to, I guess maybe not, but I felt like they were trying to imply that a certain AEW wrestler was still part of the Wyatt family.
Maybe. I don't know. This got weird, and it was really hard to follow at times.
I mean, there were times that I thought, so the guy in the tank top that you never did see the guy's face, I thought, man, they are trying to imply that is oh my gosh,
Luke Harper.
Luke Harper. And I mean, they found a dude that looked kind of like Luke Harper, just not, and never showed his face. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's not what they were going for, but it sure felt like it.
Yeah, I'll have to rewatch to see if I catch that the second time or not. Like I said, this was weird in lots of ways. It was weird because Sister Abigail showed up, but it was not Sister Abigail. It was Alexa Bliss.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Everyone was telling me, "Oh, Sister Abigail." I'm like, no, it's not Sister Abigail. The announcers didn't say anything about it, and I just think it was Braun's imagination.
Well, yeah, I think that 100% that's supposed to be all in Braun Strowman's head. Alexa Bliss is not Sister Abigail. I'm 100% saying that. Positive that Alexa Bliss is not Sister Abigail. That this was supposed to be Bray Wyatt messing with Braun Strowman's head, because the whole thing was that Alexa Bliss was saying, but you want us to be together. If you join him, we can be together.
And it showed stuff from their
flirtation
match challenge.
Mm-hmm. And so that they are not saying that Sister Abigail is Alexa Bliss or vice versa. I think it was just mind games, but it was weird. It was really weird. And frankly, I've said this before about Alexa Bliss. I like her better as a heel. So if they wanted to go that way, I would not be 100% against it. I mean, we said the whole mixed match challenge, and afterwards they could have played for so much with her manipulating him to destroy people for her.
Yeah, their television chemistry was really good, anyways. So,
but and then at one point, Braun Strowman almost drowns in the swamp, and then
actually does drown in the swamp.
Well, and then Braun beats up Bray and throws him in a boat and pushes the boat away, and the boat disappears, and Braun thinks he's won, but then the boat comes back and there's nothing in it, and then out of the swamp, Bray Wyatt shows up and beats Braun Strowman with an oar for a while, and I mean this was weird.
And then pulls Braun into the water and baptizes him.
Yeah, and gets the mandible claw, and then in the end, it ends with the Fiend being the one that emerges from the water.
That was cool.
And then laughs, and then it's done. The whole show's done.
I do like how they did, basically when you saw Braun put Wyatt on first of all, bad editing when Braun originally took Bray and whatever, suplexed him or whatever he did with them. First of all, when he originally suplexed him, it didn't look like it was on a boat or on like an inflatable boat thing. It looked like it was a shelf from what I saw. And then they pan back, and then he's randomly on a boat, and then for some reason they're in water. I get it's in a swamp area, so maybe the water wasn't far, but like it was really weird editing in that regard. But I'm just nitpicking. It was all just kind of a weird thing to begin with. It was a very Jason-y, Friday the 13th-esque horror movie style kind of deal. But, it is what it is.
And then, like I said, I think this is going to be the most polarizing. I think if you go to Facebook or Twitter and you search for results on this and you talk to friends, they're either going to love this or hate this. I don't think you're going to find too many in the middle.
I think I'm in the middle. Like, I get it. I get what it is. I don't think it was as good as Cena's one, although it's very different from Cena's one. It's just, I come to expect that I know I'm not going to see a match. I know I'm just going to see them try to be creative. So I don't think I'll watch this one ever again. Maybe I'll watch it once more just to kind of see what I've missed. But it's not something I'm going to remember at all. Like, I don't hate it, but I didn't overly like it either. I see what you did here. I see what you're trying to do. I appreciate Bray Wyatt's mind. That's it.
But, like, hey, I'm just now scrolling through one of the wrestling Facebook groups that I'm on, and yeah, they are 100% not like either. Like I said, either they liked it or they hated it. There's not many that are like,
but
okay.
There were some haters on the Cena one, and that's the best segment of the year.
Well, and look, it's very weird, right? Like, it's a weird thing to have. So those who legit like wrestling matches, and it's even weird for it just to be like a segment, right? Because it's acting as if it's trying to be a movie, but it's not as good quality as like your A-list horror movies. It's almost like a B-movie rated film, if you will, you know? So it's difficult because you're trying to get wrestling fans to like horror filming that's been heavily edited, but wrestling fans usually get horror films that have been perfectly edited with great camera angles, with effects and all this, so they're used to a certain type of style. But you're showing them, I don't know, I can't think of a B-rated horror film right now, but you're showing them basically, you know, a B-rated film that IMDb would give it like a 3 out of 5, you know? So I don't think a lot of people will get it, at least wrestling fan wise will get it, because those people are used to seeing in-ring stuff and not cheesy horror films. Maybe that's not a great example, but I don't know. It's just because they're not Hollywood production. You know what I mean? So when they're trying to do these kind of things, it's very difficult to pull off. They have the budget, but they probably don't have the manpower to do it either at this rate. So 7 hours is not enough to pull a Hollywood 30-minute film, which is what they essentially were trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how I feel about you referring to wrestling fans as those people.
Yeah, seriously.
We are quite a unique bunch. We are those people. I
was gonna say that's racist, spelled with a W. W-R.
Oh, that could be a T-shirt. Not a good selling one, but it could be a T-shirt.
Oh,
But
Jesus.
yeah,
Let's move on.
That's racist.
I
don't know. We could maybe get in a little bit of trouble for that, but anyways, that's how that ended. And I mean, I enjoyed it. I liked it. Like I said, I just kind of expect that's going to be the polarizing one where some people love it and some people just hate it. Overall, I didn't hate this pay-per-view. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it.
Worst pay-per-view of the year for me.
Okay, so you hate it.
I don't know that I can give it worst, but I think the last two events. What's that?
Worse than this?
Money in the Bank? What was the one right after WrestleMania?
I think it was Money in the Bank.
Yeah, that was bad.
Yeah, I mean, I said in my review that Money in the Bank was better than this. I guess maybe I don't remember Money in the Bank all that well. Maybe I tried to forget it because it was so bad.
Just remember the cinematic match at Money in the Bank was the tag team match between the Street Profits and the Viking Raiders War Experience people.
No, that was back.
That was Backlash.
That was Backlash.
That
Yeah.
Also bad. Money in the Bank's. Oh, yeah, that's right. That was the climb the corporate ladder.
Yeah, so that was the latter for sure.
Really bad cinematic match. Backlash was the worst of the year. Sorry. Yeah.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. I'm saying worst just because of the endings. Honestly, like if it wasn't for Drew and Ziggler, this I would have. I'm giving this like a 2 out of 5. If it wasn't for Drew and Ziggler getting my 2 out of 5, or sorry, Drew and Ziggler getting 1.5. And the cinematic is getting 1. Like, I 2.5 out of 5 is my rating because it's I don't know, man. It's the endings to me. If the endings weren't as bad as they were, because the Rey Mysterio and Seth Rollins match was decent until the end. The Banks Asuka match was decent, was great until the end. So those are my only issues. The ending ultimately ruined the matches for me, and Bray Wyatt's cinematic match just wasn't as good as Cena's cinematic match, and that's not Bray Wyatt's fault technically, but they're doing what we all said they were going to do when we originally talked about the cinematic matches. They're doing too many of them, and they're not doing it properly. So therefore, it's going to become a boring event of cinematics.
I would say Bray Wyatt needs to live only in cinematic matches because of this one tonight. Like, I would be okay with that.
And yes, and I am okay with that. Like, I don't mind that happening, and I get it, but it works for Bray Wyatt. Just don't do it for anyone else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or not necessarily all characters.
It works for whatever reason it works for, and I know, Smarks, I know you hate this terminology, but it works for supernatural characters, and I know Bray's not technically supernatural, but
you also need a certain Wyatt who can be in the ring, though. So maybe not all of his characters. Like, you don't technically. The Fiend should be cinematic. The regular. I guess the Wyatt we've seen today doing everything. You could kind of see him in the ring. But if you're going to do anything with The Fiend, I think The Fiend should be completely cinematic. Firefly Funhouse, so that Firefly Bray should also be part of the cinematic world. You should see him in the ring with those get-ups. So he should have 2 cinematic kind of characters and then 2 wrestling in the ring characters kind of deal. Because with Bray, that works. You can do it. You've shown many faces of Bray, and it only works with Bray, in my opinion, with the wrestlers we do have, because he's developed this character for like a good 3 years now. So the work was put in, and that's why I don't mind it at all with it being Bray doing what he's doing. It's just, it wasn't as good as the Cena match.
I just feel like every time you say it was the worst match, the worst pay-per-view of the year, I feel like we need to insert the Homer Simpson saying, "So far." Pay-per-view of the year, so
Please
far.
Please do that.
I feel like WWE is going to come up with something bad. I mean, SummerSlam in a month could be bad.
I feel like they're going to have like a beach party, and it's going to be an enclosed beach, and Hogan's randomly going to give WWE.
He'll come in on a boat from Thunder in Paradise.
Yeah. If they get the actual boat, I'll be there for it. I'm all in. I suspicion the only thing that that might save WWE's pay-per-views is their social media has gone all in right now on Evolution, talking about it, showing matches from it, all of this stuff. I suspect they're going to announce another Evolution event, whether it's a pay-per-view or just a one-night Raw or Smackdown event or something. I don't know, but I feel like they're going to do that, and that could be potentially a high point of the year because they've got enough good women's wrestlers to do it.
For sure, and we're talking NXT too, right? I imagine. So
I imagine they would include NXT in it, yes.
NXT and UK as well, maybe a little. Yeah, I would love to see that. Something different. That'd be cool. Just there's enough phenomenal women wrestlers. Hopefully they do it before Kairi Sane leaves, because I would love to see Kairi Sane in a match.
Mm-hmm. But
we'll do it after Ty Valkyrie comes over, so that we can get the matches that we mentioned on Tuesday.
Yeah, but I just point out we still have Hell in a Cell later this year. We still have Survivor Series, and we still have TLC.
And Hell in a Cell was the start of Debacle Wrestling.
And so I don't have high hopes for any of those ones. But no, I didn't hate this. I don't know if I'm gonna give it an actual rating.
Do it. Give me what I want.
6.5 maybe out of 10.
Okay.
Just, change scales.
Yeah. I never do five stars. I was always doing.
I don't know.
10.
I always kind of did 5 stars.
It gives me more granular control when I do a 10. Because when you're doing out of 5, yeah, I mean, you could do quarter, but that sounds silly. It's 2.25 stars.
Well, so with my rating, if I said 2.5 out of 5, that essentially would be a what? That'd be like
5 out of 10.
5. Okay. Yeah. That's pretty much it. 5 out of 10. Then I'll go your way, Mr. Smarks, Mr.
I put it
Super Smarks.
6.5 out of 10. I don't think it was as bad as you think it was, but the endings, kind of like you said, the endings are what killed it.
That's it. It could have easily have been a 7 if the endings weren't as bad.
Yeah, I would say that the endings are the only reason that this isn't a 8 out of 10. You know, for the matches themselves, I give this particular pay-per-view a 4 out of 5 stars or 8 out of 10. The endings hurt a lot. And it probably takes me down to that 6 to 7, probably pretty close to 6.5. What's that?
It didn't hurt that much for you then, because you went there. Well, when you went to 7, I was like, so you went down a point.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, we're watching a wrestling pay-per-view. We're watching all of the wrestling. You don't just watch the endings. I mean, in no way. So Sasha and Asuka was a 12-minute match-ish.
Yeah.
Somewhere there. If they're a 12-minute match and 30 seconds of it I don't like, or 45 seconds of it I don't like, and everything else I like, I can't really be all that pissed off about it, you know?
Yeah, but that's like saying, okay, I really liked The Sixth Sense, because so if The Sixth Sense didn't have that phenomenal ending where we find out that Bruce Willis was a dead guy, spoiler alert.
Wait, what?
Whoa. You need to give that spoiler alert first, buddy boy.
Yeah. You don't say spoiler alert after the fact. Bruce Willis is dead?
Yeah.
God, I swear I just saw him in a movie where he was an assassin. It's crazy. I didn't know he was dead.
So, quite literally, okay, I don't know what I was going with that. I felt like I had a point there. But I'm just saying, with wrestling matches, though, it kind of counts because a lot of people tend to judge how they like the movie based off the ending. You know, a lot of people wouldn't have liked The Sixth Sense that much if it didn't have that phenomenal ending, because that phenomenal ending is what made it so powerful, is what made it ultimately tell the story of what actually happened and why things were happening. It explained everything else. It was that perfected ending. Essentially, that's what an ending in a wrestling match is supposed to do. It's supposed to signify
a kid could see.
Yeah, exactly. But that's, to me, what an ending in a wrestling match does. It ties everything up in a nice little bow and says, this is all we did throughout these 12 minutes, and this is the conclusion of the match. Usually the ending solidifies everything that happened in the matchup, and you are somewhat pleased. Because of how bad it happened, essentially it makes everything that happened there pointless, because you ultimately feel completely disgusted by what you have just seen, and therefore just the rest doesn't matter.
So with the exception of those 2 matches, which endings do you hate? I mean, we all know that the schmoz endings happen on non-premium pay-per-views. So anything that isn't SummerSlam, WrestleMania, Survivor Series, or Royal Rumble, that you're going to get a lot of schmoz endings in it because it's building other storylines. It's just it's essentially an extra Raw.
Right, and I mean, look, those 2, yes, I didn't like because of the endings. You had the tables match, which was decent enough, you know, like whatever, that's fine. But it's
the tables match was great.
Tables match was good. I had no problems with that. But then, you know, the Bayley match was decent enough too. I maybe didn't like that ending, but I'm not too critical on that one. It's just more along the lines of, oh, you could have kind of maybe made it a bit different to my liking, but that's just me nitpicking, and that's whatever. But that match was great. I enjoyed that. Between Bayley and Ziggler and McIntyre, those matches were great, and the tables match were great. 2 endings kind of did it done for me, and I think maybe
so you You dropped him on a 10-point scale. You dropped him 6 points on more than half. Because you said everything was great, and great means that it's an 8 or above.
No, fantastic means it's an
everything. Oh, okay.
No.
I'm just making sure that I have the right descriptors here.
So for instance, the tables match, I give it 7 on 10. Okay. The Ziggler McIntyre match, I give an 8 on 10.
Solidly.
Sorry. Maybe even a 9. It was
a really good match.
Yeah, 9 on 10. Ray Seth, I give that like a 5 on 10. I really thought the ending was stupid.
The wrestling, or are you including the finish in that?
I'm including the finish in that. Wrestling wise, it would maybe got a 7.
I feel like it's lower than that if you include the finish, but it's much higher if you don't. Like
it's a 7 on 10. I'm just saying it's a wrestling. It's a 5 on 10 because of the finish.
I mean, the finish is a 1 out of 10. Like if 0 is a score, then it's a 0.
Right.
Like that finish is horrible.
No, but I mean everything with the finish. We're playing semantics, but it's just that's it. And then honestly, the cinematic match, I don't know if you maybe should have ended with that. I get where else do you put it in your card? You have to really only put it at the end. But it's just also the cinematic match was I knew what I was gonna get, but at the same time, because I got such shitty endings, because to me the only matches I really was looking forward to on this card were the women matches.
I think the cinematic match actually would have kicked off the show better.
Ooh, that might have been interesting, actually.
Yeah, no, I was thinking the cinematic match as the second to last match, and put the Dolph Ziggler versus Drew McIntyre as the main event would have made more sense to me.
I think if you switch that, it maybe might have got a better rating for me.
I agree. I felt a little let down when the end of the cinematic match was just like, okay, it's over. Here's the Undertaker talking about the last ride, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
And so if you had a match that would have had an actual finish afterwards, I think it would have helped everyone feel a little bit better out of it. No, I'll agree.
So once again, it's because of the ending. The ultimate ending to the pay-per-view also left me like, if it would have ended with the Ziggler and McIntyre match, I think it would have gotten a greater score because I would have finished the pay-per-view on a high note. I would have been like, wow, that was a great, phenomenal match. And sure, the other matches would have been shitty, but maybe I would have thought the cinematic match would have been better. Would have been better at that point too, because I was so happy over what happened with McIntyre and Ziggler. And where the hell was Sheamus and Jeff Hardy? They said it was supposed to be. I mean, not that I really care, because whether it was on the pay-per-view or not, now I'm going to have to watch it on Smackdown. But they originally were supposed to have it on Extreme Rules, because they had announced it when he did the thing with The Miz and Morrison. Jeff Hardy did the thing with The Miz and Morrison.
Wasn't that supposed to be the barroom brawl, too?
Yeah, it's supposed to be a bar fight. But then Sheamus mentioned on Smackdown when he hit Jeff Hardy that he says, I'll see you next Friday. So I had mentioned on my the North Report that Sheamus had messed up because you're supposed to see him at Extreme Rules. Come to find out that apparently it is going to be on SmackDown on Friday and not at Extreme Rules. And I'm like, okay, so you're trying to get ratings by putting this on TV? On Fox? No one's going to care. You could have easily have just put this at Extreme Rules and let it die and sync with the ship with everything else. Because this match is not going to be good either. Like, I don't care that it wasn't on the card, but it's not going to be good.
Yeah, I mean, they could have put it on the card and we still would have been over before 11.
We would have been over before.
Well, 11 your time. I should.
Yeah.
Especially when you had the whole MVP situation happen. Like, okay, that match isn't there. How about, just adding Naomi versus Lacey Evans since you're kind of starting a feud there?
Oh my God!
Here you go with
Stop
Naomi
trying
again.
To put Naomi on pay-per-views.
Hashtag Naomi deserves better. Okay, it's been
hashtag no, she doesn't.
Oh, I'm so.
How did you manage to sneak Naomi into this? Oh.
Naomi deserves
so you really wanted your 3 out of 10 stars to be legit. Let's throw a Naomi match on there, and then it'll actually be the worst pay-per-view of the year.
By the way, so I tried to get my girl Naomi. I tweeted her. I asked her, what she thought her greatest matches in WWE were, and no response. Yeah, I got no response.
Because Naomi doesn't think she's got great matches.
Actually, she did respond. She gave you a full list of her good matches.
Yes, it was complete. It was every single one of them.
Maybe if I contact one of the Usos, one of them's injured, they might have nothing better else to do.
Injured or on suspension for their 17th DUI.
You guys should just all go on a boat in a swamp and not return, okay? Meanies. Naomi, #Naomi deserves better. You know what also deserves better? I don't know. The show probably ending. What's next?
Well, I think that's all we really got to talk about for this. I mean, we could go and do some commendations. I really don't have anything prepared, but commendations for Kylie Ray for winning the #1 contenders match on Slammiversary, because I love Kylie Ray.
So, I mean, if I'm going to give a commendation, I would have to give it for Impact for picking up the Good Brothers, as well as Eric Young and EC3. I do think that is pretty awesome that these guys are finally going to get to be used. You know, they've been in the WWE roster for like 5 years, and nothing has happened to them. So this is good for them, and you know, at least Luke Gallows and Anderson can start going to New Japan and do some stuff too. So that's it, and I give.
I'll throw one out for Deonna Purrazzo. If you listen to our most listened to podcast ever for Raw and Order is an NXT review, and if you listen to the NXT reviews around that time, I deeply enjoy Deonna Purrazzo, and I'm pretty jacked that she's now the Impact World Women's Champion.
Of course, he has to bring up NXT review.
Yeah.
The one that's a few weeks behind. Sorry guys, I travel a lot for life because of stuff going on, but they will get done. Especially Great American Bash, because it deeply needs done. This is a really good show.
Wow, you still do Great American Bash? Like one job?
Yeah, no, multiple jobs. Really, I do have multiple jobs. One of which includes, spending some time with my mom.
Aw. Yeah, no, look, I mean, at the same time, just when you get them done, we get them done. They're more of our thoughts necessarily, so not necessarily a review.
Yeah, not really a review anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're more of your thoughts. And that's it, man. You get to them when you get to them, but definitely would love to hear your thoughts on that, just because Great American Bash was pretty awesome.
Pretty solid. Please remember that we are part of the Tatnus Co podcast network. We mentioned this earlier. Go listen to some of our podcast partners, like Into the Dicebox Slam with that person who we talked about that could be the authority figure, Vicky Guerrero. She actually now is the manager for one of the podcasters in the Dicebox Slam, Nyla Rose. So Red Dawn's playing right now on TNT. That's really cool. Anyway, and then I was going to throw it to you to talk a little bit about the merch site, shop.spreadshirt.raw and order WBU. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that there, JLB, so we don't have Smarks doing all this stuff over again?
Yeah, no, for sure. So shop.spreadshirt.com/raw_WBU. We have a lot of great shirts, bud. We're not a cop. I mean, we're not cops. We are wrestling cops.
Not cops. But I play one on a podcast.
But we play one on a podcast. And if, I love the Doobly Doos one. I still am waiting for my order. But in the Doobly Doos is also one of the other shirts that we have up there, which is always fun times. We are also working on your favorite,
the Cat Ass Trophy, which, by the way, tonight's Cat Ass Trophy, 110% goes to, without a doubt, the stipulation of removing somebody's eye to win a match. That is the decapitation match only on horror show. Like it's the worst stipulation.
And
probably. I mean, this is it's up against Inferno matches for how bad they can be.
And this is why I originally thought that this match was going to be a cinematic match, because I'm like, how else, or at least the eye portion, like how else are you going to make this a thing without crazy editing?
Correct. And yet they didn't cinemize this at all. Cinemize, is that a word?
It is now.
It's also the flavor it's also what happens when you like make snickerdoodles while you're rolling them around in the cinnamon sugar. You're cinemizing them.
Good know.
We also have a Wix page where there are lots of doobly-doos. There's also a link for that down below. The doobly-doos on that page can be predictions. They can be blogs written by one of us three, most likely one of the other two of the three, because, again, I can barely fit in my review shows. So
I finally am an editor on that, so I'll start working on that a little bit more. Just basically putting a bunch of stuff on there. It's going to be, maybe recaps of just Raw, SmackDown, NXT kind of thing for when we do our podcast with their thoughts. Kind of have that there for those of you who like reading, because knowledge is power, instead of listening, or you can do both at the same time and have a blast with that. So we'll definitely try to get our Wix site up with some more content too, for sure.
Cool. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast system. Remember, amongst those podcast systems is the YouTube channel, managed by not yours truly, but the other guy from up north that's still on the podcast. Smarks will be here any second. I can hear him hooking up his mic.
Yes.
We've done this all out of order, just so you know. We've done like, share, and subscribe. I haven't done the 5 stars yet. We've done. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I wouldn't put too much pressure on the YouTube channel since it really doesn't get updated very often right now.
Oh, okay. Well, didn't mean to do that to you then, JLB. Sorry. Shows how often I go to the YouTube channel. I apologize.
Well, it's nothing against JLB at all on it. It really comes down to the fact that almost no one goes to the YouTube channel. So
including myself.
Why waste too much time pushing on it, right?
Yeah, that's okay.
And at the same, but at the same time, it's always good to have, because you never know, there might be that random fan who listens to us and really likes YouTube, and they'll be like, oh, I could check them out on YouTube too. But again, but we'll get it updated. I'm gonna have a lot more free time next week. I'll start uploading all the older episodes and at least get the ball rolling, so we're up to date on that. But we also have, if you guys, instead of like, sharing, and subscribing, which helps support us, if you guys do want to add up some dough, we also do have a Patreon, which Officer Smart.
Patreon.com/Raw and Order WBU, or you can go to our merch shop, shop.spreadshirt.com/Raw and Order WBU. So
just in case you wanted to hear that twice.
Yep, you could go to either of them. Well, you don't know what they're going to hear twice. I'm going to have to edit the crap out of this segment.
That's true. You can have a lot of fun editing this. You can also give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. That is one of the best ways to promote us on there. A 5-star review on Apple Podcasts is like money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there are tons of ways to support us for free, including liking, sharing, and subscribing. Sharing's the easiest one. Send it on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, MySpace, Friendster, Napster, something else in
Insta. TikTok page. That would be fun.
I don't know what I'd do. I can't do those dances.
I
can't do flow.
I removed TikTok off of my phone because of the whole security thing, but now people are telling me that it's not a thing, and
it's not a thing.
So I might add it back on, and I'd be down to do some TikTok stuff. Just talk about wrestling. I'm young enough, I'm hip enough to do the TikTok thing. So
yeah. I don't know if
on the For You page, you do the whoa.
TikTok is easier.
Is it? See, yeah. All I know about TikTok is there are really young people on there not dressed in enough clothes for a person who's old enough to be their dad.
Yeah, that's a no-no.
I
definitely need more attire on.
Yeah, I would say for the most part they're probably fine. The simple fact is you and I are old enough that we could be lots of people's dads. The simple
Are you
fact
suggesting that we should have some listeners call us daddy?
I'm just saying that from a logistical standpoint, there are people who could have graduated college that I am old enough to be their dad. You know, if
you get to the biology of it all, there are people old enough to be in high school that JLB that could be their dad.
Yeah.
That's literally there are people. There are literally people who could have their master's degrees, and I'm old enough that I could be their dad.
You're old enough to be a grandpa.
Yeah.
You are just old.
So old. But
you're not, and that's okay. So we hit Wix, we hit shop.spreadshirt.com/Raw and Order. We hit Patreon, we hit like, share, subscribe. We hit 5-star. We didn't say who we do the 5 stars like, and since I botched it at the beginning, Smarks, this is your thing. Go for it.
Give us 5 stars, just like the number of aneurysms Jim Cornette had watching the Stadium Stampede match. Because I'm going to continue to say that forever. Fuck Jim Cornette.
And you know what, guys? You can always follow us. Technically, we haven't done our social medias. So, what's our Twitter one is at Raw and Order WBU, where you.
It's actually Smarks. Straight there, man.
Well, fair enough. I'm sorry, Smarks. Go right ahead. Where can they follow you?
That's his. You just said it.
Yes, you did. Yes. You can also follow DA Fabe at
DA Vincent Kayfabe.
And then JLB is at
JLB420. Real Talk Radio is the brand at Real Talk Radio 8. Anchor.fm/RTR. I literally just posted my website now, realtalkradio.online. That's right. I didn't want a .com. I didn't want a .ca. I wanted to be different, and I'm online. So that's where you can get that.
Awesome sauce. So, yeah. I think that, gets us to the end.
Do we have our GeoCities site? Have we told people about our GeoCities site?
I don't know. I think this is a perfect example of how far off the rails we can get if I'm not here to rein things in.
I think we did a pretty good job of getting them all mentioned. In fact, throw us a note on Twitter if we did an okay job of getting it mentioned. Say, hey, Vincent Kayfabe, you did a good job. And if I did a horrible job, say, hey, just wait for him to get his headphones next time.
He's pretty much just going to edit us out and make it like it was a clear.
He's literally going to just edit the whole thing out and just re-record it without us on the call. Because he's kind of a control freak like that.
Kind of?
Okay, legitimately a control freak like that. Again, I want to mention that Red Dawn is on TNT right now.
Okay, is it the original Red Dawn or is it the new one?
I don't know. I haven't started it. There's an hour and 7 minutes left. And in the background here, I'll just click it because I'm probably gonna end up watching it because I've drank like 6 energy drinks tonight. So it is. Let's see if it's Patrick Swayze, because if it's Patrick Swayze, it's a commercial. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a commercial.
Down on where? What channel is it?
TNT. Same one you watch AEW's on?
Nope, I watch it on the Canadian one, TSN.
Yeah, because he's Canadian, remember?
Yeah, one job.
Don't you know?
Don't you know?
I didn't even know that was a country, Canada. Anyway, I think it's time to shut it down and be happy that the Fiend is back.
This is the one with Patrick Swayze.
It is? Cool.
Yeah. Boom. And that's it. So, yeah. You
can
it now.
So after you've done all that sharing, and subscribing, we will end this for this week. Close the book on the wrestling booking unit. Oh, jeez.
Hey, JLB, let's do a review of Red Dawn.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We will see you next time.
Bye.
Ciao for now.